if you want to say that. Every sport has its own language, right? And if you educate the fans, if you educate them, they're going to learn stuff and use it in their vocabulary. All right. Now, I personally, I hate when people talk about, you know, a boxer is running. There's no such thing as that. Okay. Yeah, you can go for a jog in a ring. Some boxers do that, but for the most part, there's no such thing as that. And fans are making up terms. They're making up stuff and dictating how boxing is supposed to be called and what's supposed to be about boxing. They're saying that certain fighters are boxers, but they're not fighters, and all kinds of stupid things. Okay, so let's try to lay down some of the boxing terms or what they mean. Right. So boxing is a really beautiful sport. Hold on a second. Across here. And we're really shortchanging the sport. We're really shortchanging the sport when we don't know what we're talking about with the sport. So it's really fair, like any sport, right? In American football, we have things called touchdowns. We got first down. We got tackle. Every sport has its own terms. But the misenlightened fans, they don't use the terms. Okay, the casuals and the people who just come with their agendas. Unfortunately for us, there are certain people in the community, certain fans, who they're on a political agenda. All right? And they are, called by different names. I'm not going to go into that. And some of them are dumbing down the sport. That's really annoying. So I'm going to go through some things because I was listening to Blue speak about Oscar Valdez versus Concierto and that fight, and he actually used a term which is block punches, which is the term. But really what happened was that Concierge, he blocked the punch, but he also rolled the punch. So I'm going to talk to you guys about things in boxing and why a boxer that is significantly smaller than another boxer can end up beating that boxer even though his dimensions are smaller and whatever. So I'll use terms to demonstrate that. I'm going to demonstrate because that's the only way you can actually understand the terms, all right? I'm a southpaw, so I'm in a southpaw stance. All right, first one we're going to talk about is blocking punches. That's the easiest of them. So let's say you throw me a jab. You throw a jab, okay? Then I can block it. I can block the jab so you don't hit me in my face. Block the jab so you don't hit me in my body, right? Now, let's say you throw a right hook because I'm southpaw. Throw a right hook and you throw it to the body now, right? Now, at being a southpaw, throw the right hook. The right hook is coming on this side of my body, right? So when you throw the right hook, I may dip and I may get my forearm to block that punch. There it is from the side, okay? So when I do that, when I actually do this, there are two things I'm doing. One, I'm blocking the punch, but at the same time, I'm not just keeping my hands here or keeping my hands here and just firmly blocking the punch, because then some of the brunt of the force of the punch is still going to hit me and I'm still going to get hurt by it. I did two things. I blocked the punch, but I also caught the punch. Let me demonstrate in any game like baseball or whatever. Let's say in baseball, the guy hits the ball, baseball, and a guy, he's running back there to get the ball, and he catches the ball, catches it. I catch a ball. I don't just put out my hands and catch the ball like this. I catch it like this because I want to cushion it, cushion the fall of the ball, and then also ensure that it goes straight into my hands. Okay, so in boxing, just like in a sport where you catch something, right? Somebody throws something to you and you catch it, right? Similarly, if a guy throws a right hook to the body, right? Then I catch it. And look at the action. Look at my side. My side is actually like cupping, like as if I'm catching the punch here, right? So that's a catch. So I'm not only blocking the punch, but I'm also catching the punch. And if you time it really well, you could also not only catch the punch, but you could kind of roll the punch. You can roll it. You can catch and roll. And what it helps is I catch, I roll, and I also counter at the same time. So let's say my opponent is here. He threw a right hook to my spleen. For some reason, my spleen or my liver area is on this side, kind of far away from him. But somehow he decides he's got in position somehow, and he throws the right hook, right? So I can roll it, catch it, and if he's somewhere here, I can shoot a counter. It's called catch and shoot. All right? So what we just learned was blocking. I could block up here. I could block down here. Right? You also learned about blocking. Then you learn about catching. You catch a punch. Right? Boop, boop. You ever watch Roger Mayweather when he hit with the mitts? Right? He slapped you with the mitts. You got to catch, right? Then you can also take some steam off the punch even further, but this calls for timing, calls for your body to know how to move with a punch. But you can also roll the punch at the same time. And off of that roll, as you're making that roll, you can also counter. Okay? So, we just learned a couple things. We learned the term blocking, catching, rolling. And we just learned about countering. Catch and counter. Catch and shoot. You say shooting. You shoot the punch. Because it's just like you can shot something, right? Now, here's where boxing gets very specific. Balance. You see what I just did there? I didn't really use the proper technique. Because you want the proper technique for you to get the most out of your punches. So, I'm just demonstrating right now. I'm not trying to be very accurate. I'm not trying to show you the perfect technique. And there are guys who go into detail, and the devil's in the details. So you have to have proper technique. You have to have a proper stance and all of these things, okay? All right, now I'm going to show you another one. So you heard about rolling punches. Now, the other thing you can do, and rolling punches just means you're going with the punch. It's almost like riding, except with riding the punch, the guy actually hits the target. So you're trying to take the steam off the target. So whether it is he hits you in the liver, but you roll it. You roll the liver shot. So you miss. You ride the liver shot, sorry. So even if you miss him hitting here, if he's coming with the hook here and you ride it, you gotta literally ride your whole body this way, right? And you ride it, then it means you take some steam off of it. And what happens usually is, why guys go down with a liver shot is because, remember, I'm southpaw, so orthodoxy, reverse the picture. But usually what's happening when a guy gets hurt with a liver shot, he's extending a shot so he doesn't get to ride the shot. And then the shot is open here and the guy catches it. Or he's now, so much to boxing, but I'm not going to go into that. Or he's defending here. Instead of having his hands back here to catch the shot, he's close up here because the guy threw an uppercut up the center, threw up the right hook, or he just, he popped the right lead and then whack, or he feinted like he was going to throw a jab, right? He feinted like he was going to throw the jab, popped the right hand, and then came around with the left hook, right? Whatever it is, you might have closed up here, and you get hit here. Now if you get hit here solidly without rolling or riding the punch or catching the punch, you go down. Alright? So there's a skill to catching punches. There's a skill to blocking punches. There's a skill to rolling punches. There's a skill to catching and shooting. Right? And these are techniques you're going to have to develop over time. And the more you do it, is the better you become at it. All right? Rolling punches, again, is simply moving with the punch. It's like riding punches, except riding punches, the guys actually hit the target area, whether it's the liver, spleen, solar plexus, lower abdomen, chest, chin, temple. Okay? There are specific places on the body which are targeted points. Nothing below the belt, so we don't go with the groin, we don't go with the hips, the legs. That's supposed to be no zone. Also, nowhere in the back or the kidneys you should be hit. So you understand boxing has rules. Once you start understanding the rules and you start understanding what's supposed to go on in there, now you can operate with that. So for a casual fan out there who's now learning about the sport of boxing, you can ride punches, you can roll punches, you can block punches, and you can catch punches. Okay? Now the other thing I want to tell you about is what's called parrying. You can parry a punch. What is parrying? Parrying is deflecting something with your hands. So if I'm in this stance, this is a southpaw stance, mind you. I'm in the southpaw stance, and a guy, for example, throws the jab at me. I have two ways of parrying it because my two hands are up. I can parry it this way. I just put out my hand, the jab comes. I'm not going to try and, because I might need to get back my hand in position for a hook, just in case he hooks off the jab, right? And even though this side is my protected side, because this is I need to have phone in the phone booth, so I have to protect here if he comes with the hook, because he's coming with the right hand, okay? It's a southpaw. So let's say he comes with the right hand as a jab, okay? His jab, if I parry it this way, because I'm slightly off center, I parry it this way, right? I parry it this way. I just put out my hand and parry it. Okay, my glove is gonna bounce off my glove. I don't want to extend my hand to reach the jab, just in case he hooks off the jab and catches me here. So I'm here to parry, but just in case he hooks, I just pull it back here, right? The other thing is, so the parry is simple. When I open my palm this way, I could catch the jab, which would be a lot harder. I could slap me in my face, if you know, or I can slant my hand so the jab deflects off my hand and goes that way. Okay, and that's parrying. So it's more about deflecting the punch than it is about catching the punch, which I have to catch it with my hand, right? Catch it with my hand. Okay, so you got parrying, rolling, catching, blocking, countering, shooting, right? Catch and shoot. Right? Okay, so let's go into another thing. So in boxing, there's riding as well. I didn't talk about riding a punch. Let's say, for example, my opponent, he pops a jab, okay? Pops a jab, really good jab. It gets past my guard for some reason, and it's about to hit me in my face, and I see that, and so I start moving backwards. And because I move backwards, it exaggerates the hit of the jab, so it looks like my head snaps back really dramatically, right? Really snaps back dramatically. But really and truly, I rode the punch. I went with the punch and I rode it. Okay? And that's riding the punch. Of course, you don't want to really get hit smack dab center like that. You want to, you want to still snap back from the punch. And let's say he was throwing a hook, for example, to my head, right? In this case, I'm a southpaw, so it could be a right hook. So, right? He throws a right hook to my head. And when he does that, I do this. Or in this case, I'll go this way, right? So I go with the punch. And if I go with the punch, my chin doesn't get checked. But if I stay where I am and I get caught with the punch, I'm going to go down, right? Or get hurt and be in trouble. So that's riding the punch. Now, there are many different places on your body where you can ride and roll, okay? So remember, the key target areas are here, 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 okay? Here, and here, and even here. They're all target points. So if the guy was to hit any of my target points, if I have enough reflexes, I could go with that punch in the direction the punch is going, and I could ride the shot. Okay? If, however, I block the shot, then I can catch the shot, and even oh, by the way, you can catch a shot even though you didn't block it fully. So for example, let's say he throws a right hook on the southpaw, remember, throws right hook, and it gets behind my guard, and it hits me here, right, in my lip. But if I still bend with the shot, I can still catch it and take some of the steam off of it. All right, so you catching shots. The whole thing behind it is that these things show us that you can take steam off punches. Now countering. So the first thing you need to know before we go to countering is punches. All right. Now generally punches are given by a number system. Number 1 is the jab. Okay. Number 2 will be your power hand, which comes behind the jab. So we call it a 1-2. 1-2, right? Power, jab, power hand. That's 1-2. Boom, boom, right? Okay. The next thing, which is number 3, is the hooks. Okay? So 3 and 4 will be your left, well, in this case, your right hook for me. I'm a southpaw. But for an orthodox fighter, it would be the right hook and then the left hook. Okay? So jab right cross or jab right hand is 1-2. Then you have the left hook for the orthodox fighter, and then you have the right hook. Yep. No, the right hook, sorry, for the orthodox, no, the left hook for the orthodox fighter, and then the right hook. That's 3 and 4. Okay? 5 and 6, it depends on your numbering system. 5 and 6, I think, is generally, so any hook to the head or to the body is 3 and 4. 5 and 6 are generally uppercuts. So you start off with, if you're an orthodox fighter, you'll start off with the right uppercut and then the left uppercut. That's 5 and 6. Okay, but it goes all the way up to 10, depending on what you want to do. But so when you say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, generally speaking, you're talking jab right hand, okay, and then left hook, right hook, and then right up, jab, right hand, right hook, left hook, right uppercut, left uppercut. Generally, that's what it is. Okay, and the right hook, left hook could be to the head or it could be to the body. It doesn't matter. Okay, even though some people it matters. So it depends on what your numbering system is. You may have left hook, right hook on top, left hook, right hook below, which would be 5, 6, and then 7, 8 be the uppercuts. It doesn't really matter. But in boxing, you only have a certain set of punches, general punches that is. You have the jab, you have the right hand, if you're an orthodox fighter, you have the left hook and the right hook, which could be to the head or to the body, and you have the right uppercut, left uppercut. Those are all the punches in boxing. But they are general stuff. So I want you guys to get an idea of what boxing is so you can get a picture now of the types of shots that could come. So, for example, if you know a guy's throwing a jab, you may be looking for the 2. In which case, the next thing we can talk about, so we just talked about punches, and we talked about a numbering system. And the kind of punches in boxing are the jab, the right hand, the left hook, the right hook, all the hooks, and then you have uppercuts. Those are basically all the punches in boxing. Okay? But as simple as it might sound, there are many different ways to execute those things. But here's the important part. The important part is to understand that there is also a way to counter those things, as well as use your defense to be able to get by them. So let me explain. So anybody who's doing pad work, I talked about pad work earlier on today, anybody who's doing pad work in boxing generally will hopefully be having incorporated in their pad work slipping shots. Remember, if you throw a shot, something could be coming back at you. So you must have defense. This is where defense comes into play. And so I loved Roger Mayweather because he taught all kinds of different things. And he gave pretty much a comprehensive understanding of boxing in his pad work. However, let's just go into what's more important. So, terms. Slipping. Slipping a punch is where you basically move your body in such a manner that you are slightly off center. So you are out of the line of a punch that is coming at you. So let's say, for example, me being a southpaw, and in the southpaw stance, I can slip a punch. Even though I have my double guard, I could choose to let the guy punch go by me so I can counter him. Maybe he's reaching in with his punch. So let's say he's throwing a right jab. He throws a right jab at me, which would hit me here if I stayed centered. But if I slip this way, just slightly move off to the side, okay, it'll go by me. And if it goes by me, then I have slipped the punch. So that's slipping. And in drills and pad work drill, you learn to slip the right hand, you learn to slip the jab, and then you learn to slip the power hand. So you slip. You slip slightly this way to get by the jab, and then if the power hand is coming after it, so if he's a southpaw, his power hand is coming this way, I slip back this way so that the power hand will go by. I could block it, but it's better if I slip it, because what it allows is when you slip a punch, so you slip, right? Of course, he could come with the left hook, in which case I will talk about that other part, which is called rolling under, or rolling under punches. And you'll understand why it's called rolling under in a minute. But first, if you slip the jab that's coming this way, and then you slip the power hand that's coming this way, that's the slip. So we say slip, 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 right? It's a very slight movement, but that's part of your thing. Because what the slip does, okay, so with a slipping, you can then slide. So have you ever heard of slip and slide boxers? Slip and slide. So let me explain that to you very simply. So here I am. Okay? I got my guard up. This is the way. I don't care who you are, start boxing this way. Okay? I don't want to see no Floyd Mayweather, Philly Shell, and all that bullshit. We start this way. This is how you start boxing. Okay? Alright. Now anyway, let's say a guy's throwing a punch at you this way. You slip him this way, and you anticipate the right hand coming, okay? So instead of just, he may be setting up a 1-2. Just in case, if you see the right hand coming, you slip this way, but as you're slipping, you can slide. So I'll demonstrate. Let's say he throws the left hand this way, all right? You slip to the outside here, okay? He throws the left hand, you slip to the outside. Now there's many different things you can do, okay? But one of the most important things you can do is you can slip to the outside of the jab, and then if you want to, you can come back with a counter over the jab. Now the danger of that is, if he's coming with a 2, he could catch you in between there, and you're toast. So the best thing to do is you slip to the outside of the jab, you're watching to see what he's doing, and instead of going there, you wait a little bit, and if he throws the right hand, you slip this way. If he doesn't throw the right hand, then you can counter over the top. Okay? Hold on a second. The boxing junkie, what's up, man? Facts, preach. Awesome. And slide. You can slide on the side attack. Yes. So slip and slide. Let's talk a little bit about slip and slide. Very simple. All right. So slip and slide is, again, a very simple thing. If you slip a punch, let's say you slip the jab. So the jab goes by you, right? You slip the jab. Now, what you can do is after you slip, you slide in. Okay? And this is slip and slide. So, it's a slide. See, I just slid, right? I slid. I didn't lift my feet and step, or I didn't do this, or I didn't do this. This is shuffling. 1, 2. This is shuffling. Okay? This is sliding. This is sliding. Okay? And then, so slip and slide. So if you slip a punch, then you can slide in. Alright? So that's part of boxing, and that's a term, slip and slide. And slip and slide fighters, they don't bounce. There are fighters who bounce. Muhammad Ali. Woo, woo, I'm pretty. Now bouncing can help in a fight, help you to be a little bit more alert and get your speed up. You know, some guys do well on their toes bouncing around. You have to know what style best suits you. So there's something called bouncing in boxing. That's another term. And then there's pivoting. All right? Now you can pivot 90 degrees, 45 degrees, 30 degrees. It depends, right? But we learn to the basic box step, and from there we go to pivoting. So pivoting is not what people think it is. People feel pivoting is moving all around the ring or running. Yes, it's kind of like that because you're creating an angle. That's not the only version of pivoting. You could be right in the trenches against a guy, and you could just step around him. Pah! That's pivoting. Okay? So pivoting is not just about pivoting is turning. There you go. Turning. So once you turn, once you make an angle, you turn an angle, that's pivoting. That's basically what pivoting is. And since it's we call the boxing ring a square circle, meaning that people go in a circle inside the boxing ring, if you ever notice. They go one direction or the other, but they're always going around each other. So they're boxing in a circle. So they do this, right? So that's why it's called the square circle, because the ring itself is like a square or a rectangle, and you inside are going around and around the circles because there's no way to escape. You can't leave the ring once you're in there. I've seen some people go through the ropes though, in sparring and stuff. Anyway, so yeah, so I told you a couple terms now. Let's see if we can just go through. The first one is blocking. Second one's catching. Third one's rolling. Fourth one is roll and counter or shoot. Fifth one is the jab, right hand, left hook, right hook, left uppercut, right uppercut, right? Okay. Then you have slipping. So you can slip, right? Or you also have slip and slide, right? Slide, right? Shuffle, all right? You see the boxers, they come up to each other like that. This is shuffling. Kind of like giddy up, giddy up, giddy up, giddy up, giddy up. It's different to bouncing. This is bouncing. Okay? That's bouncing. So, bouncing is a lot more vigorous. All right? Shuffling. Sliding. Sliding is very good because if you stay at the same level and you slide, it's less depth perception because the human body is such that depth perception, when you slide in on a guy, and I know this from martial arts, you slide in on a guy, he doesn't notice as well as you're getting closer to him. And we talked about pivot or turning. Okay? Alright. So, that's some of the terms. There's more. Let's see what the boxing junkie has to say. He's been saying a lot of stuff. He knows boxing very, very well. Alright. The body. Wham, wham. Yes, sir. 1, 2, 3, 4, bam. Yes, sir. Hey, man, I'm always watching Justin the Lexus working and can't comment. Enjoying this one at home. Wham, bam. Slip and slide. Ducking and punch. Yeah, okay, there's dipping. Woo! There's a lot of stuff in boxing. I just realized that. So, the other thing is, so let's say there's a jab, then there's a right hand, then there's a left hook, right? The guy is coming with that combination. You slip the jab, you slip the right hand. Now there's something called rolling under. So the jab came this way, the right hand came this way, and the hook is coming this way. Hook's coming this way, around this way. So you can't slip the hook. You'll get hit, right? So what you do is you roll under the hook. Okay? It's called rolling under. If you're rolling in, same thing. So the roll in is to slide in. So you go, let's say you come off your jab and you roll in. Roll out. It's like a rowing boat. Roll in. It's a bit of sliding, roll out, but you're dipping at the same time. It's a nice little boat-like action. So you can roll in, roll out, slipping and sliding. So I slip the jab and I roll in. Slipping the jab and rolling in could help with getting under the right hand. And while you're rolling in, you could also counter. Right? Okay. So, I wanted to just talk about rolling. Rolling is very simple action. It's just dip and move. Okay, it's different to dipping though. Dipping is you stay one spot and you dip to one side. You dip to one side or you dip to one side. Okay? And dipping, when you're dipping and you're rolling, you need to keep your eyes on your target. Don't be doing this. You keep your eyes on the guy that's coming at you. Otherwise, if you take your eyes off of him, you could get badly injured. Well, that's part of defense, but at the same time, it's also part of offense. Okay. Now, so we talked about a lot of stuff now. We've talked about blocking. Very important. Notice that's the first thing I talked about, blocking. We talked about parrying. We talked about catching. Okay? You can also catch a shot. This is the wrong hand though. But anyway, whatever. You can also roll the shot. So you can catch and roll the shot. You also have countering. So you catch, roll, counter, right? You also have you have to excuse me, I have acid reflux and sometimes my stuff comes up. You also have different kinds of punches, right? So we have the jab, right hand, left hook, right uppercut, left uppercut, right? Not doing it correctly. I'm just arm punches, but you get my point. And then the other thing you have is slipping. Slipping, where you let the punch go by you. Slip, slip, okay? Or you can slip, slide, okay? Then you've learned about shuffling, bouncing. You have slipping and rolling, right? So you can roll under a punch, okay? So that's very important. And you also have rolling in, rolling out, okay? And then you have dipping. You can dip to one side or the other. Basically, you're squatting and then you're dropping your upper body, your torso, one way or the other. I'm squared up, but you get my point. You're dipping, okay? So, those different things lead to different styles of boxing. You can have a guy who, oh, I forgot bobbing and weaving. Bobbing and weaving. Bobbing's like a dipping. It's kind of like a dip. But then you weave. So, bob and weave. It's kind of like rolling. It's kind of like dipping and rolling. Okay? Bob is up and down and weave. So you're doing like this. Coming in. Okay? Off the true line. So let's say opponent's here. He's firing at me. I'm trying to slip. Dip and roll. And that's bobbing and weaving. Okay? And all of those things, there's a specific skill set to it. And a specific set of footwork for it. Okay? So I wanted you guys to know those terms for boxing because I think the casual fan actually picks up these things very well. I remember almost any casual fan will tell you about the pull counter, for example, right? They'll tell you about the pull counter, and that's because someone spoke about it and they elaborated what it was, and then there are many videos made on it now. Okay, so if people know about pull counter and if people know about the check hook, then I believe they should know these terms as well if we would just educate them on that. I truly believe that these terms should be used in boxing so that the fans will understand it's a sport. Because I think people don't respect boxing enough. I think the common Joe who sits on his couch, has never thrown a punch in his life, just coins terms that he thinks running and things like he's hugging. Hugging. You know, like you think Victor Ortiz was hugging, right? He'd go into Floyd, all right, Floyd, and kiss him. That's hugging. This is not hugging. Clinching is not hugging. Believe you me, it's not hugging. And tying up is not clinching. All right, so I need another person to actually do clinching and tying up. Clinching is where you kind of grapple a guy. So if I, for example, I grapple him this way, I could grapple him out here or whatever. But his hands can't move. I've locked his hands in. He definitely can't move. Tying up, as the term indicates, excuse me, is where I am sort of grappling him, sort of like, and his glove can't go through my hand, but I let go. So his hand's free. So I'm tying him up, meaning I'm making it difficult for him to get his rhythm so he can throw his punches because my hands keep on getting in the way and blocking his punches from being thrown. So that's not the best description. It's better to demonstrate it, really, so you can see. But tying up is not clinching. Clinching is where you lock down the guy on one side, generally speaking, so his glove can't go through your hand and you're not letting go. Or you're literally using a specific technique I can't show it here because I don't have a person to work with, but you're basically locking the guy up and he can't get his gloves outside of your hand. Sometimes they lock you this way. So your hands are actually extended out this way and he can't, you know. And sometimes, some guys are so good at clinching that they'll make the ref believe it's the other guy clinching them. So funny. Because the other guy's hands look like it's around the guy's waist, you know. He's like locked up this way. But really, it's you that clipped his gloves in and he realized that and he just kind of clinched into you. So, it's not hugging, okay? And tying up is not clinching, okay? So, this is an important thing because infighting is an art. It's a beautiful thing. It's very difficult. But once you understand the fundamentals of infighting, which I'm not going to explain right here today, I'm just talking terms. Okay, but the important thing is there are different ranges, okay? So if I am fighting you where I can hit you because I have longer arms, you can't hit me, I am outside the pocket, okay, because you can't hit me. The pocket is the place where both fighters can hit each other. It's a distance where both fighters can hit each other. All right, I can't demonstrate this either because I don't have another person. I could get an object to demonstrate though. So this object here, which is a camera stand, okay, it's very short. Let's say this is an opponent here of me. It's my opponent. And I'm right next to it, right about here, right? Now, this little arm here is my opponent's arm, okay? I can hit my opponent. My opponent cannot hit me, obviously. So I am outside of the pocket because both my opponent and me should be able to hit each other. However, if I'm right up, this is kind of awkward, but let's say I'm right up on my opponent. So my opponent can hit me and I can hit my opponent. Now I'm in the pocket. Now deep in the pocket is where I'm right up on my opponent and we're body to body. That's called deep in the pocket, and that is where infighting usually takes place. If my opponent can hit me and I can hit my opponent, I'm in the pocket, but I'm not touching my opponent. That is called mid-range. Okay, so deep in the pocket is infighting, or inside, deep inside the pocket. And then there's mid-range, which is in the pocket. And then you have, if I'm outside the pocket because I'm so long that I can hit my opponent can't hit me, I'm outside the pocket. When you're outside the pocket fighting a guy that's inside the pocket, that's called outboxing. So I'm outside boxing him. I'm outside the pocket boxing. If I am in the pocket where both he can hit me and I can hit him, then that's called boxing too, but it's known as infighting. And if I'm deep in the pocket and I'm touching him body to body, it's also known as infighting. But it's, what did I say? It's true infighting, right? Because you're deep inside the pocket and you guys are body to body and you're throwing punches and hitting each other. So that's another thing for you to understand. Now there are different kinds of boxers. There's the boxer puncher. That's a guy who boxes. He can box on the outside. Maybe he can do a little bit of infighting as well. But he mostly boxes on the outside, but he has power. And so while he's outside here and throws choof, and he hits you, blah, and you're knocked out, right? That's a boxer puncher. However, you can also have a boxer. A boxer is a guy who fights on the outside, generally speaking, or outboxer they call him, and he's outside of the pocket. So he's fighting you, but he's boxing you outside of the pocket. Then you have infighter or swarmer. That's a guy, he'll jab his way to get to the inside so that he can fight you body to body. He wants to be as close up on you as possible, and he generally wants to attack your body. He doesn't want to attack your head so much, he wants to attack your body. He wants to land body shots. That is called a swarmer or infighter. Okay? There's an art to each of these, and it calls for many different things. Okay? So I wanted to demonstrate that because there are different ranges in boxing. So sometimes a fighter is very, very good at fighting at mid-range. Really great when he can hit you and you can hit him. He's really good at doing that because, you know, he knows how to catch and shoot, he knows how to set traps, and so on. And I'll tell you what a trap is, and I'll demonstrate. So, for example, you can have a boxer who is at mid-range, and he's really just good at it. He throws combinations, he hits the guy doesn't hit him as much, he hurts the guy. That fighter is known as a mid-range fighter. A fighter who his thing is to fight deep in the pocket and attack your body, he's known as an infighter. And then you have the outboxer. Now, those are three different ranges. Now, the thing about it is, I don't want to swamp you with too much more terms, but suffice it to say, it is not good to just be proficient at one range. Now, it may be that you're proficient at one range because you don't have reach, you don't have a certain arm length. But at the end of the day, it's always good to be able to master, if possible, the art of outboxing, mid-range fighting, and infighting. And how a guy with short arms can outbox is very interesting. He spends most of his time outside the pocket, but when he has to throw shots or whatever, he goads the guy into getting closer to him so he can throw shots, or he goes in and out of the pocket. So he goes into the pocket and out of the pocket, into the pocket and out of the pocket. Okay? Very quickly. He's not a true outboxer, but he is outboxing because even though he doesn't have the longer reach, he spends most of his time outside the pocket. Alright, and he moves around the ring. So there's different sets of skills you can have, but I don't want to go and burden you too much more longer because I'm sure this video is pretty long. But what I'm trying to tell you is there are different boxing terms. In boxing, there are very specific terms for the sport, and they're very accurate in depicting certain things. Okay? There's something called an 8 count, and there's something called a 10 count. There may be a 3 knockdown rule. There may not be a 3 knockdown rule. These are certain rules. It depends on what commission you're with. It depends on what their rules are governing their commissions. Boxing is scored round by round. So even when people talk about the cumulative scores, or the scores, over the punches landed over the entirety of a fight, the truth be told, that does not matter as much as what is actually landing round by round. Besides that, it's not just about punches thrown and landed. In boxing, there's a 10-point must system. The 10-point must system is based, all it means is there are 10 points available. Okay? If a fighter wins a round, he gets the full 10 points. If the fighter doesn't win the round, then he gets 9 points. However, the fighter could be penalized if he has some sort of infraction. So for instance, like I said before, you can't hit somebody to the back of them, right? So let's say he's been warned, and he's constantly punching a guy to the back of the head, which is called rabbit punching. If he's doing that, and repeatedly, even though the guy is not turning his head or whatever, the referee will give him a warning, and then he could take a point from him. Similarly with low blows and other things that you're not supposed to do. So if a fighter gets, for example, penalized a point because of an infraction, then he loses an extra point from whatever score he has. Even if he won the round, he loses a point. The other point is, if a boxer gets knocked down, he loses a point. So if in the round he was losing the round anyway, and then he gets knocked down, now it's a 10-8 round. 10 goes to the winner of the round, and 8 points goes to the loser of the round. If he gets knocked down twice, then it's a 10-7 round. Certain commissions have rules governing how many times you can be knocked down and how much it counts to a round. So let's say there's a 3 knockdown rule, where if you're knocked down 3 times, the fight's over. You lost. There's that. But if there's no 3 knockdown rule, and you cannot be saved by the bell in any round, then they stop at, I believe, 3 knockdowns. I think you can get a 10-8, 10-7, and a 10-6 round. I think you can have that. But that's about it. So if a guy's getting knocked down multiple times, the referee should really stop the fight. That's what he should do. With respect to the 10-point must system. So it's based on 4 criteria. Now the 4 criteria that govern a fight, we don't really view them in such a, how do I say? We don't view them in a very point-by-point way, okay? We view it through the lens of how the fight is flowing. So let me see if I can give you guys a good explanation of it, because I know I talked about scoring fights before. The best way to describe it is like this. You have 4 criteria, which is clean, effective punching. You have defense. You have effective aggression. And you have ring generalship. Now, those 4 criteria go like this. Ring generalship is who's controlling the fight. Pretty much that's what ring generalship is. The ring general, as it says, general, is someone who controls where the fight takes place. Okay? So, if you are a swarmer, aka an infighter, and the other guy is not, and you're able to infight that guy, and the guy is not being able to get his way of fighting, and you're landing punches, you have to be effective, then you are the ring general. It's that simple. If you're in a fight, and your opponent is preventing you from getting to the inside because you're an infighter and he's an outboxer, and he's boxing you and jabbing you and hitting you with jabs all the time, he's the ring general because he's controlling the fight, where the fight is taking place. So that's ring generalship. Then you have defense. Well, defense pretty much says it all, right? You can't hit the guy, or it's difficult to hit the guy, and the guy's hitting you more than you're hitting him. If he's not hitting you more than you're hitting him, then it's not effective defense. The key word in all of these things is effective. So the defense must be effective, which means the only way we could say he has good defense is if he's hitting you. He has to hit you as well. And you're not getting to hit him. That's when this matters. Then you have effective aggression. Like it says, you may be walking a guy down, but you're not effective. He's landing all the punches and you're not. Then you're not effective. So that's just aggression, but you're not effective. He's the effective guy. However, if you're walking a guy down and you're landing your punches on him regularly and probably more than he does, and that's effective aggression. And it's not just getting him to the real estate you want him to be at, which you may be the ring general in that respect, but it's also landing punches that count as breaking him down. Okay? And finally, clean effective punching. Clean effective punching is just what it says. It's visible, everybody can see it. That means it's clean and it's effective, meaning you're getting the desired results you want out of your opponent based on your game plan, which you will see as the fight evolves. You can see what the fighter's game plan is. Okay, fine. So even though those are the 4 criteria, it's a sort of dynamic thing in boxing where, again, it's kind of subject to interpretation as well, but for the most part, it's kind of objective. I'll explain to you what I mean. So first of all, clean effective punching is just what it says. But usually, judges actually look at the punches. They're not counting every single punch. That's dumb. Well, any judge doing that, they might as well be CompuBox. But what they're looking at is the activity of the fighters through the entirety of a 3-minute round. And they're also looking at the striking punches that land. The punches that had the that stood out in the whole round. That's the best way to go about doing it. So that, if a guy hits a guy a straight right hand and buckles him, it looks like he's winning the round. Unless the guy can respond and buckle the other guy, right? So, certain clean, effective punches, that's what they're talking about. It's not just every single punch. It's not just a ticky-tack punch. It's not just a touch punch. It's not just about points no, it's kind of qualitative. So it's what are the clean punches we saw in that round, and that will sway me to. And if you're not seeing any clean punches in that round, well, you can't really award anyone that, right? So that's basically what clean effective punching is. With respect to effective aggression, therefore, again, we just talked about that, and defense and all of that. So a fight is basically judged based on who's in control of the fight, who's actually being the most effective in terms of landing clean punches that we could all see and like, oh, the crowd goes, ooh, ah, right? If there's no such moment in there, who's the guy throwing the most punches in the round? Throughout the round, consistency. Because sometimes people are on the steal the end of the round, and it's not really fair to the guy who's doing all the work. But if the guy has good defense, the flurries won't work. But who's the guy doing is throwing punches, landing better than the other guy because he has the better defense sometimes. And then you have who's controlling where the fight takes place. So those 4 things you can look and you can almost instantaneously see who's controlling the round. If it's a tit for tat, nobody's controlling the round. It's a kind of seesaw battle. Maybe one round goes to one guy in terms of he's controlling it. Next round, the other guy comes and takes it back. So you look to see who's controlling the round. All those factors you see simultaneously as you're watching the fight. And that helps you to know who won the round. Okay? If it's a close tit for tat, some people like to give it a 10-10 round where both guys get the points. But there's always an icebreaker. There's always something. A 10-10 round means there's a swing. It's sort of like a swing round. Like both guys won the round. But you can say that you have to look at the rounds and be able to discern, because it's a subtle thing, who's really landing the effective punches and how's the momentum of the fight going. So that's what I suggest to people, that when you're looking at how rounds are won, it's not just quantitative. Yes, a guy may be more active He might even be landing more punches. And then the other guy comes and knocks him out in a round. He lands a punch, solid, hard punch, knocks out the guy. Who's the more effective guy with the effective punches? That's the key word, effective. It's the guy that landed the one punch that knocked out the other guy, right? Or he lands that one punch and drops the other guy, right? The other guy was winning the round. You dropped him. And that changed everything, right? It doesn't mean that the other guy that dropped him won the round. But what it does mean is that now it's a 9-9 round instead of a 10-9 round. And if he drops him again in the same round, all of a sudden he's the one winning the round, you know? So it's not just about how many punches are landing, which CompuBox does. It also depends on where those punches are landing and all these other variables. But mostly, who has been more effective with their punching? That's what you come down to. So that's basically it for scoring fights. All right, I almost took an hour here, so that was a pretty long video. But I just hope that people will use more boxing terms, get to know more about boxing. Then there's so much ignorance out there. That's why I said it's nice to kind of break down some of the nuts and bolts of boxing to the different fans out there. And for those people who know boxing, or you may be teaching people, you may be a coach or trainer, it's nice to get the average Joe in there also to see the appreciation, to appreciate the sport, because and even participate in it, because it does have rules and it does have a structure. And so once you understand that, it's not as dangerous as it seems. You know, it has a structure. There is certain things that boxers generally throw, and so you can kind of from there get to learn the sport much better. All right, and that's why I try to break it down for different people. There's a lot more, like when you're really trying to do things really well and learn them really well. There's more to it than that, but suffice it to say, if you were to fight a guy who is a debutant just like you know, in your first fight, you know, he's kind of like you. Maybe he's more talented than you, maybe not, but that's a good way to start. So if you're gonna start a debut into boxing, don't debut with somebody who has a lot of experience. You'll get killed in there. But if you get somebody who is not as experienced as you, similarly experienced as you, they've never really actually done anything, and they debut with you, it's relatively safe. Once you understand the rules of boxing, you understand it, and you have good defense, you'll be okay. All right? Because boxing follows rules. And even if the person is very dirty and nasty, well, you need to be able to man up and handle your business. So if they hit you low, you hit them back low at some point in the fight. Get them back. You know, that's how boxing works. All right, so I hope that sort of helps people with the terms in boxing. Still a lot to the sport. There's a lot to the sport. But it's nice. I want to get my hands wet. I think one of the actual journalists from the Ring magazine, I forgot what his name is, he actually got himself involved in a boxing match. So that's great. And I think the more people get involved in boxing, the more you do it, is the more you will appreciate it. Trust me. And it's very important that media people as well, or people who present or talk about boxing, it's good to have the experience of having actually boxed. It's not as dangerous as I try to make it out, but I like people to know, one, listen, you're going to war, so it's a totally different mindset. It's about kill or be killed. So you have to take it very seriously. It's not something that you can slack off on. If you're training, you're seriously training. The other thing about boxing that's very important for people to understand is if you have anger management issues, if you find yourself frustrated, yell and scream at people and stuff, it's a really good sport to take up, because it will balance you off. It will. And you'll be able to really punch some stuff. You might get punched back in return, but it's a good sport. But you have to be careful again. Don't just jump into it. Get a good trainer. Get good people around you who can look out for you. If you're going to do it professionally, you need to have a team behind you. And check out Coach Eric Bradley's video on that. All right. I'm going to catch you guys later. I'm what you need. Hope you guys have a good one. Deuces.